Sack Life beat depression. It's day 633, and we're back in the place to be, live from Kearney, New Jersey, in the Sack Yard with another somatic healing session to wipe out depression. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Now, anyone who's tuning in later, as you know, the focus of the show is always mental health first. It's a martial arts for mental health show, and we try to combine as many tools as we can, as many free mental health tools with martial arts training techniques as we can to empower ourselves with that champion mindset, to view struggles as facilitative to growth, and give ourselves that challenge every day that leads to progress and success. Shout out to Simon Amaze, Fortune 6, Lisa the Luminary, and everybody out there who's tuned in now. Mad with Hats, I see you as well. Thank you guys so much for the support. And you are part of my gratitude section today. I hope that you guys are keeping track of things you're grateful for as well, and focusing in on those things, because gratitude itself is a powerful mental health tool. So today I want to shout out gratitude to everybody in here first, and that is Simon Amaze, Fortune 6, Lisa the Luminary, Mad with Hats, and Ree Brickman. Thank you guys so much. You are all part of my gratitude section today, and I want to give a special shout out to Master Checo out there for coming by early this morning, first thing in the morning for the Sack Man, 4 p.m., and helping out, getting down a whole bunch more of this awesome training surface we're going to have available in the Sack Yard. So thank you to Master Checo out there. Shout out to you. Much gratitude to you. He's part of my gratitude section as well. Go ahead and think about the things that you're grateful for, and that'll help put you in that positive mindset as we move into today's lesson. Today we're going to be talking about the teep, lead teep, boom, rear teep, boom, and we're going to throw some hooks in there as well. We'll be using that measuring jab to keep a distance from our opponent as we move around, left, right, forwards, backwards, work on that movement. And then once we set up our shot, remember that measuring jab just comes from the arm, doesn't come through the shoulders or the body. We're just setting up shots without finding our distance. Once we find our distance, we're going to toss some hooks. We're going to talk about those hooks and work those teeps and hooks together. Teeps and hooks today. Teeps and hooks all day today. Are you training on tiles? I am training on tiles. They are rubber tiles, so they're nice and springy, and maybe slightly cushioned if I do take a fall. Probably not a great idea, but it'll suffice for now. This is the base layer, and we may have even a crash mat or a training mat will be going on top of this at some point. The bag setup will be going back up on here on the Sack Yard on the deck, and we'll have plenty of tools for progress and success out here. And yeah, it looks like bricks, right? It's recycled rubber, so we're saving the environment too. We're being multi-purpose out here, and that's what it's all about, progress and success. XOJR, Jay, thank you for being here as well. And Lisa said today is day 333 of progress and success for her. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing that number. That brings us into our second mental health tool. We did the gratitude tool. Now you want to do the progress tracking tool, that list tool. Keep a note of how many days you have conquered the debilitating effects of depression, because you got up and you fought forwards for yourself. Not only was it a daily accomplishable goal, but it's one that builds you up mentally and physically. It doesn't have to be this class. It can be a martial arts training class somewhere else. It can be a heavy bag routine that you've committed to doing, making it a daily goal for yourself, something that builds you up mentally and physically. If you keep track of those things, you will know for a fact that you are stronger than the debilitating effects of depression, that you are stronger than those lies that depression loves to feed us at the beginning of the day when you're trying to get out of bed, and you hear that, you hear that voice saying you can't, you're not worth it, you don't deserve it, or you feel physically sometimes like your body's too heavy to move. I've been there. I know a lot of other people have been there, and it's been 633 days since I felt that way. And part of the reason is because I'm keeping track of every day of that forward progress. So please do keep track of that progress. It is a very powerful tool, as Lisa can tell you. She's on day 333 out there, and these other friends who have been staying consistent with their goals and sharing their progress, they can tell you as well what that number's done for them, what kind of proof that gives them of their self-esteem, self-value, self-worth out there. So make sure you're keeping track of that number. Pay attention to that mental health tool as well. Shout out to Gus as well, and Monica Teresa, thank you for being here. Appreciate that support. Appreciate everybody tuning in out there. We covered the gratitude tool. We covered the list progress tracking tool as well. And now we're going to get into visualization and talk about the lesson a little bit. So we'll be working from Modern Balanced Muay Thai Stance. As you know, those stance guides are available on sacklifeofficial.com. Down at the bottom of the free martial arts for mental health class section, we've got guides for all our stances so you can be fully prepared for any class. And today we're going to be working with that Modern Balanced Muay Thai Stance. Nice and squared, using that visualization tool as well to visualize our opponent, that depression dummy. And one of the things that makes it more effective for mental health is by acknowledging consciously what we're subconsciously doing every single day, which is beating depression. So we want to consciously acknowledge that dummy as a physical form of depression. Assign him that name. Assign him that thing you want to work on, and we'll knock those lies right out of his stupid dummy face, right? The depression dummy. Shout out to Mike EXE as well, out there supporting the cause, part of the OG Sack fam. Appreciate your support, brother. So we're talking about, we're visualizing our opponent. We're squaring up with them. Square the hips, square the shoulders. Think about that center line, right? Coming right down the middle. Where dominant hand's going to be in the back. We're going to step forwards into a nice balanced position. Rolling those hands and shifting that weight from the front foot to the back foot in our Muay Thai stance. Chin tucked, hips rolled, shoulders curled, right? Guard nice and high by the brow line. And what we're going to do first, we're going to practice the lead teep. For the lead teep, we want to shift our body weight back or bring that front foot slightly forward, that rear foot slightly forward. And then we're going to pull this front leg up on one plane, kind of pulling it in a little bit into the hips. And then we're going to exhale, push hard through the hips, curling the toes back. Apologize for the dirty foot. It is what it is. But curling the toes back and driving through the hip. We really want to put the hip into it. That's where the power is going to come from with that lead teep. And it's a great push kick. It's a great tool to use, create distance between you and your opponent. You can also use it in a real world situation if someone's getting too close or coming at you aggressively. You can teep them out of the way. It'll toss them. It's pretty impressive what you can do when you're just standing on one leg. You can generate a lot of force. It all comes from that hip movement. Shout out to Lupine, Slayer Ken, for being here. Appreciate you, brother. We're talking about, let us know how many days of progress it's been for you, by the way. Lisa shared it's been 333 days for her. We're talking about Muay Thai position. We're talking about the lead teep. We're going to bring that leg up on one plane, pulling it in at the hips, exhaling hard and driving through those hips as our shoulders go back. Just like that long knee that we did the other day, we're going to use that same technique, pushing through the hips, letting the shoulders roll back. You can rotate the hips as well to get even more force in there. But ideally, you're just going to step up here, bring that leg in, exhale hard as you drive it forwards, letting the shoulders go back, hips go forwards, creating that opposing force, generating a whole bunch of torque in there. 241 days of progress and success for Ken, consecutive days trained. Keep track of that number. It's a powerful thing. Thank you for sharing. It helps let others know what they're capable of, as we are all made of the same stuff out here. So we're all capable of moving forward. We just got to find the way that works for us. That being said, it'll be a standard round, 3 rounds, 3 minutes each. 1 minute breaks in between to catch your breath and drink some water. Make sure you got water. Make sure you're breathing in the nose and out the mouth. And that was the lead teep we talked about. Let's break down the rear teep. It's almost the same thing. So we got our lead teep. We're pushing through the hips, right? We're keeping the guard high on the opposite side. We're chopping the arm on the same side as that foot goes forward. And we're putting that rotational force in to toss our enemies away. Next one we're going to talk about is the rear teep. We're going to do almost the same thing, but this time we've got to bring that rear leg forward. So we're going to swing that rear leg forward as we pull in at the hips, right? And then exhale and chop through the hips for that rear teep. So you got your lead teep, boom, there, rear teep, boom, there. Exhale hard, and it's the same thing. You want to rotate, let the shoulders go back. Chin tucked here will help a lot with the balance. So if you're having trouble maintaining that balance, go ahead and tuck that chin and notice the difference in your center of gravity. Lead teep, boom, rear teep, boom, and back to stance, right back to orthodox stance. So we got the lead, we got the rear. Let's talk about the hooks very quickly. And the hooks are going to look like this. We're going to use the measuring jab to set our distance. As we know, that's our range finder, our distance finder. Once we've made contact or we're close to making contact with the face of that enemy with a measuring jab, we know that if we rotate through, we're going to contact. All the rest of our shots are going to hit them no matter what we're throwing. So we're going to use the hook. We're going to go from the lead, from the measuring jab right here, we measure. We're going to rotate through on the ball of the rear foot and launch a rear hook. Now, ideally, you don't want to throw that arm up until the last second so that it doesn't show. And it doesn't show your enemy what you're about to do. It's not a tell. But for the sake of this class and for the sake of getting that technique right, getting that angle right, and giving you a tool you can use on that heavy bag and not hurt yourself, I want you guys to go ahead and throw that elbow up and visualize like a body cast. Lock it in at 90 degrees at the elbow, close the fist, tuck the thumb just like we do all the time. Keep that wrist nice and straight. And we're going to throw that arm in a body cast, bring it up level with our shoulders, right? And we're going to rotate through, pivoting on the ball of the back foot. So measure, measure, measure. We made contact. We're going to rotate on the ball of the back foot. Boom. And there it is. Bring that hook around. nice and horizontal, bam, into the face of that depression dummy. Now we're going to switch to the other hook. Boom, same thing. This time we're shifting the weight back. We're moving our body slightly back, and we're turning on the ball of the front foot. So for the front hook, boom, we're turning on that front foot. Rear hook, turning on the rear hook. On the front hook, we're coming back a little bit. On the rear hook, we're moving forwards a little bit. But overall, our weight should be nice and centered, nice and balanced in that Muay Thai position. And that's it for the instructional. Follow along at your own pace. If something seems too hard, don't worry, just take your time. Go slower, breathe through it, and go at your intensity level. We're not here to compete with each other, here to compete with ourselves, and that's how we'll see that consistent growth and avoid burnout. We'll be punching to the fighting spirit of the 80s with our official beats from sacklifeofficial.com on Spotify and all streaming platforms. If you want to check us out, we got some cool binaural beats up there to de-stress, one to improve concentration during training, and then a whole bunch of cool retro synth vibes that capture that fighting spirit of the 80s. Hopefully adding a little motivation to your workout as well. So here we go. Let's do this thing. Bam. There it is. And visualize that opponent. Visualize that depression dummy. Get those hands up. Close the fingers. Tuck the thumbs. And start moving in your Muay Thai stance. Tuck that chin. Shift that body weight from the front foot to the back foot. Keeping the knees bent and the weight on the ball of the foot. We want to make sure we're moving one foot at a time. When you're in your rhythm and you're in your flow. When you're moving forwards, front foot first. Moving backwards, back foot first. Left, same rule. Right, same rule. Keep that space in between. Keep it nice and balanced. All right, let's visualize that opponent and toss some measuring jabs out there as you move around him. We're just kind of feeling out the situation. We're looking for that space. We're lining up those shots, right? He's coming in. He's getting closer. He's getting a little too close. We're going to start with a lead teep. So here we go. He's coming in. We can't reach him yet, but we know he's close enough. Just about close enough. We're going to bring that leg up. Bring that leg up in the front. Exhale hard. Whoosh. And drive through the hips for that lead teep. I'll show you what it looks like from the side. Back to stance. Visualize that target. Move around. Use that measuring jab as a tool to find your distance, right? We're just tossing from the arm. Not intending any harm yet. We're just setting up our line, setting up our target. Now we're going to lift that front leg straight up into the hips. Exhale hard as you drive through the hips. And push forwards with the ball of the foot. You want to toss that sucker like he's a gas pedal in your car. Let's do it together. Enemies coming in. Depression dummies coming in. We're going to toss them back. Lead teep and back. Keeping the opposite hand up high for the guard. And chopping the hand on the same side to add some more rotation to it. Lead teep. Let's go. And back. Lead teep. And back. Lead teep. And back. Lead teep. And back to stance. Measuring jab, start moving around left and right, 1 foot at a time. Boom, boom. Keep those knees bent. Keep that body weight balanced. That depression dummy's coming in. We're going to keep moving. Keep elusive. When he gets too close, we're going to toss him back with that lead teep, and then back to stance. Keep it moving. Let's toss a couple jab crosses in there to do some damage as that dummy comes close. Jab cross, back to stance, back to stance, back to stance, and lead teep. There it is, back and lead teep again. Back, keep that balance moving, keep that flow going, roll those hands to carry the rhythm. Lead teep, and back to stance, lead teep, and back to stance, lead teep, and back to stance. Really drive through those hips, chin tucked, hit that sucker right in center mounts. Boom, and back to stance, jab cross, lead teep, and back to stance, lead teep, and back to stance, lead teep, and back to stance, letting the shoulders go back, helps with that balance as well. Back into it, measuring jab, measuring jab, measuring jab. Keep it moving, and that's the end of round 1. Catch your breath, drink some water, and get ready for the next session. Ken says we're all working together to achieve. Yes, heck yes we are. And Ree Brickman says, when are you getting the bob? I'm waiting. It's coming from Century Martial Arts in Europe. I don't know if they're shipping it from Europe, but it's in the mail. Apparently, I reached out. They said his bob is on the way, and I'm looking forward to getting him out here in the Sackyard so we'll give you some more technical training. And we'll get a physical depression dummy here to beat up. Bob will be the stand-in for that beat depression dummy we've been talking about for the last 633 days. Shout out to Master Checo out there as well. Part of my gratitude section. Thank you for helping me build this deck, build this training surface, and look forward to seeing you a little bit later as we finish up. Drink some water. We're going to get back into it. We're going to talk about adding in those hooks this time. We mentioned those hooks earlier. So we're going to use that lead teep still in our training routine, getting used to that balance, but we're going to add in some hooks. Go ahead and square up with that depression dummy, and let's create some space between us and that dummy. Launch him away from us with that lead teep, through the hip, and back to stance. Now when he comes in the next time, we're going to be ready for him with some hooks. We're just tossing that measuring jab, right? Find that distance. Measuring jab, measuring jab. Are we back? Telemarketers, I can't. Nothing I can do about that. All right, keep that flow going. Keep that rhythm going. Measure, measure, measure as you move around. Once that depression dummy is in range, we're going to rotate on the rear foot, just like we do for the cross. But this time, we're going to throw that arm up into that horizontal cast and rotate through. Boom. Twisting through the shoulders and the hips. Turn on the ball of the back foot and delivering that hook right to the face of the depression dummy. Back to stance. Let's go again. Let's put some space between us and him. Lead teep. Boom. As he's coming back, measuring, 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 measuring. We're going to throw a rear hook. Rotating through on that rear foot. Bring the hook back to our guard position after you make contact. And we're going to throw the lead hook from the opposite hand. This time rotating on the ball of front foot. Boom. Right there. Bring it up nice and horizontal. Close that fist. Tuck the thumb clench on the impact. And bring it back to stance. Let's go. Keep it moving. Left and right, one foot at a time. Whichever direction you're going in, that's the foot that moves first. Guard high. Let's create some space with a teep. Bam, lead teep. He's coming back. Measure, measure, measure. Keep measuring in your movement pattern there. And once he's in range, we're going to launch that rear hook. Boom, turning through the body. Turn through the hip. Turn through the shoulder. Let the body weight do the work. And toss that hook right into his stupid face. Knocking those lies out. Back to stance. Create some distance with a teep. Boom. Back to stance. He's coming in. Measure, measure, measure. He's in range. Rotate through the hook. Rotate for the second hook. And back to stance. Keep it moving. Create some distance. Teep. Back to stance. Measure, measure. Wait for him to get in range. Once he's in range, twist through for the rear hook, twist through for the front hook. You can do palm down or palm in. Either way, it's a preference. Just keep that wrist straight and use that body weight to generate that impact. Back to stance. Keep it moving. Let's go. Front teep to generate some space. Get yourself ready for that next impact, for that next hit. Measure it out, measure it out, measure it out, and launch those double hooks. Back to stance. Measure, 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 double hook, and back to stance. You can start with the lead hook if you'd like, and then rotate into the rear hook, or rear then lead however you feel. That is the end of round 2. Get ready for round 3. In round 3, we're going to talk about that trail teep, and we're going to continue on with those hooks, working those hooks into the routine as well. make sure you're drinking water in the meantime, and you're catching your breath in the nose, out the mouth with force. It's going to add a little more torque to those hits and keep us all moving forward. Whew, 34 seconds. All right, so as we mentioned before, the lead teeth, you want to bring that up, push, exhale hard, drive through the hip. The rear teeth, we're going to just swing that leg forward, in, and then push, drive it out. So as we lift that leg up on one plane, we're pulling it into our hip. As you're swinging around forward, pull it into the hip, and then we're driving through that hip as we extend that front foot forward. And if you can't go for center mass, boom, you can go lower. You can go for the groin, fight dirty. Go for the groin, boom, or go for that kneecap. If you don't have the flexibility yet, you can go for the kneecap there, kneecap on the lead teeth. Either way, those are effective techniques as well, and we can use them in multiple situations. Back in the stance, it's go time. Let's create some distance between us and our enemy with a lead teeth. Boom, there it is. It's coming back. We're measuring, we're moving around. Keep it mobile, keep it elusive. As that dummy comes into range, we're going to rotate into a couple of hooks. Step in, he's right in range here. Rotate on that back foot. Boom, for the rear hook. Now the lead hook. Exhale hard through to the lead hook, back to defense, back to stance, and keep it moving. Now we're gonna work that rear teep this time to create the distance. So we're gonna bring the foot around, exhale hard as you drive through the hip, and then back to orthodox stance. Guard high on the opposite side of the leg that's kicking. Let's swing it forwards again. Look at it in slow motion. That dummy's coming in, we're measuring. We know our kicks are our longest range weapon, so we're not gonna touch with the hand. We just wanna slowly get accustomed to that range finder. We're gonna step in, drive through the hip, and bring it back to square stance, orthodox position. Step in, drive through that hip, and back to stance. Return it back to orthodox position. Continue to practice that rear teep. Bring it up, drive through, and back. Bring it up, drive through, and back. Try and think of that leg as one plane, as one solid object, and just swing through the hip as you bring it in, boom, and drive it out. Back to stance. Here we go. Rear teep to create distance. Boom. Front teep to create distance. Boom. And now measure, 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 measure. Wait for that opportune time. You don't have to throw a measurement every time, but if you'd like to set it up, make sure you're gonna make contact and not waste energy. Measure, 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 and now launch double hooks. Can be a front rear or a rear front, your choice. Let's do it together. Measure, 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 measure. When he's in range, double hook. And back to stance. Measure, measure, measure as you move. Measure, measure, double hook. And back to stance. Create some distance with a teep. Either one, your choice. Lead teep, rear teep. Back to stance. Measure, measure, wait for him. When he's in range, let's launch some hooks. Back to stance. Measure, 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 measure. You can move forwards as you throw those measurements. You can move backwards as you throw those measurements as well. Once he's in range, let's hit him with the double hook. He's in range here. And back to stance. Remember, throw that arm up into a body cast. Lock the elbow at 90 degrees. Keep the wrist straight. Boom. And turn through the body for impact, for power. Let's go. Measure. Keep it moving. Measure. Double hook. Double hook again. Double hook again. Double hook one more time. And that is the end of round 3 of Progress and Success. Congrats. If you stuck with us, that was 9 minutes of exercise. That can change the rest of your life if you're keeping track of it, if you're staying consistent. Remember that the progress, most of the progress, is going to be happening overnight in that rest period. Rest periods are super important. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you're getting enough rest. And that's the time when you're sleeping that you're going to be able to make those new connections, new muscles, find new balance, find new control, and then the next day when you come back with consistency, you'll be able to see the results of your hard work today. So I hope that you guys have found room to improve, room to grow, because that's what this thing is about. It's about progress and growth. And we have an unlimited amount of space to grow out here, stronger every day and more equipped for the world around us. Until next time, I will catch you same sack time, same sack channel, same sack life. Sack man.